this lovely apricot branch, I'll use 4 colors: a Winsor yellow, a rose madder hue, a hooker's green, as well a brown ink, not brown, from winsor&newton. This is a very nice brand, but it actually doesn't matter. The most important is to take the right colors for mixing. I will use a little drop container, fill it with water in order to mix colors together. Let's add a little bit of water to prepare. So let's look at the brushes. One is to wet the paper. It's a goat hair brush, the biggest one, the flat one. The second one is squirrel brush with a thicker belly, and a little brush, a synthetic brush for making details. I recommend using a towel to whip out the rest of the colors of wet from brushes. This little thing is a paraffin, which I'm using instead of pencil for this painting. It will help me to leave the petals of apricot flowers white, and it also makes nice effects. I took a Canson 300 grams A3 for this painting. So let's choose approximately the place for the flowers and the composition itself. So it's diagonal, and I begin from one flower. I'm drawing it quite childish, simple, without any perfect lines. It's always a surprise to me how it appears after I wet the paper and start painting. Please don't be afraid of making mistakes when you paint with paraffin. I promise it's always nice surprise after you wet the paper and start actually applying the colors and see those white spaces left on the paper. Just trust your hands and trust to the fact that the painting will be nice and it will be live, and it's mostly about the process, I would say, at least to me, not about the result. The most important is to break the mental blocks, to stop thinking that you cannot do it, that the watercolor is a complicated medium, that you need to be professional artist. This is not about, it's not only about that. The most important is enjoying the process. It's not about the result. And probably that is why I prefer always painting from the real object, not from the picture. So I'm wetting the paper properly, leaving the borders, of course, because I don't want the paper to stick out of the tape. This thick paper will absorb nicely the moisture and it will keep it for a long time in its fibers, so that I can paint a bit longer. And this painting, it's a little bit more complicated. That is why I need a little bit more time to complete the work. So let's begin applying colors. I'm beginning with mixing yellow and green. That's because the paper is very wet at the moment, and the first layer, the first brushwork will be dissolved in paper without sharp lines. And I think those small tiny spring leaves of the apricot branch will look especially fresh and nice if I paint them first. And the moment I'm applying a little bit more solid color to make them brighter. I'm using mostly the tip of the brush to make the tiny lines. You can see that the color spreads on the wet paper. It actually doesn't bother me. I am not trying to take away something that goes too far. It feels like I need a bit more green to make some more solid details. I use a point of my brush to take on it more pigment in order to make those tiny lines. The paper is getting drier and the colors spreads a little bit less. During the process of painting, I'm looking mostly at the object. It's a way of contemplating, enjoying the beauty of this flower. And I look very little on what I'm actually painting. So it's a good way of training your eye memory and focusing a little bit less on the result. And as I said previously, enjoying the process. That is why I don't really like to paint from the photo. Without washing my brush, I dip it in red so that the green mixes with the complementary color to it, red. So let's take a beautiful brown ink from Winsor&Newton. It's a little bit reddish brown, and I'm going to make a pastel of the flowers. The ink spreads a bit differently, I would say more than watercolor on paper. My paper is getting dry, so I need to carefully wet it again, avoiding the places I have already painted. While it's wet, I will paint the flowers. I take a little bit of the ink. The color is not brown, a bit reddish and beautiful. I really like this pigment of the color. And let's reveal the white of the paraffin. It is most exciting moment for me because each brushwork becomes a surprise. I'm using a point of my brush, and the squirrel brush has ability to hold more water, more pigment in it. I'm dragging the belly of the brush, pushing it away of me or dragging it toward me. I'm adding a little bit yellow to make another flower and to make it a little bit different from the others. Thinking with the brush. Yeah, a little one. I also trying to make the different values for the flowers. So some of them will be more visible, and the one behind will be painted with a very waterish, transparent color. My favorite part is to make details, of course. I want some flowers to have more contrast in the middle. Now I'm almost drawing with the tip of my little brush, using just its point to make some fine lines. It's almost like writing. Without washing my brush, I drop it in green. Some parts of my green will be warmer, not too bright as the first layer I did with yellowish green. The paper is already dry in most of parts, and it's time to make a branch. It's almost calligraphy. Try to hold your brush a bit upper so that the line won't become stiff or too straight, too perfect. I'm taking quite a lot of ink and painting with the tip of my brush. Without washing, I'm just adding a little bit yellow in order to change a little bit colors directly on the paper. So it's mostly jewelry work left for completing this painting. Small tiny lines. I'm continuing holding my brush a little bit upper so that the brushwork won't be stiff or over controlled. So the flowers, they appear gradually in my work. I don't paint them all together at once, but I know exactly where will be each flower, again, because I'm looking at the branch all the time and very little looking at what I'm actually painting. To make the flower even more white, I need to paint a little bit of the background. I'm not a big fan of making background actually, but in this case I will add some. I paint always intuitively, so if you guys think I should tell a bit more about the process or mention some details of the process, please write your questions below under the video and I will answer them. And of course, I will include some more description in the next videos. You're also welcome to tell me what kind of flowers or objects would you like me to paint. Also, if you want me to paint a little bit simpler, easier videos, shorter, smaller objects and work, I will appreciate your comments. It would help me to understand what interests you. When my painting is done, I will wait until the paper is completely dry. Only then I will take off the tape. There will be less bumps on paper when it's dry. When I do a self-training in watercolor painting or sketches, I don't usually use a fancy watercolor paper. It would be enough to take 880 or 200 grams watercolor paper of a good brand. It's also easier to learn painting in a smaller size, for example A5. A4 can be already a little bit more complicated because the white space of the bigger paper size, it's actually scarce. It's hard to know where to start from, and this is just from my own experience. For example, before starting a bigger painting on a more expensive, nice cotton paper as arches, I would do a few sketches, a few smaller sketches on a simpler watercolor paper, just to warm up in order to get used to mix the right colors for painting the object I've chosen. It's just, it will be easier then to paint on another nice and bigger watercolor paper. I'm almost done with this painting, and it's important to not overdone the work. That is why I do small details, carefully thinking if I should or should not add something extra to the painting. I would like to share with you my favorite approach in learning something and learning painting. Find the video you like, look at this tutorial, and then just go offline, grab your watercolors, find an object inside, or if it's a good weather, outside, and paint it. Paint it a few times. Don't focus too much on the result. Look mostly at the object. Photograph it with your eyes and enjoy the process. Without this, it doesn't matter. It's impossible learning painting without enjoying it. My apricot branch is almost ready. If you guys liked this video or any other of my videos, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. It will help me stay motivated to spend time on filming and editing the creative process for you. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. You are welcome to find me on Instagram as well. Now I'm going to work on my new video for you with another flower. So see you soon.